Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our unit on Taiwan today. Lots of things to talk about Taiwan, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Taiwan history, but also we're going to be talking about a board game that is based on an historical event that occurred here in Taipei way back in 1945. Maybe you've heard the air raid on Taihoku that took place on May 31st of 1945. Had you heard about that before?
No, I'd never heard of it before. No.
I knew there were air raids in Taiwan during World War II, and I did know that Longshan Temple was damaged in an air raid, but I did not know that Longshan Temple was damaged in this particular air raid, as was many other buildings in the central Taipei area as well. It's quite surprising, actually, not only in terms of the number of buildings that were damaged, but the loss of life that occurred.
Yeah, over 3,000 people died. What shocked me was the U.S. who was raiding, so it's kind of crazy. At that point, though, we had Japanese who were controlling Taiwan, and I think they were trying to hurt them, but they actually hurt a lot of other people. So let's get started, guys. We're going to talk about this particular board game and the history upon which it's based. So right now we're going to read through day 1 of a 2-day unit on Taiwan history.
Your family's fate is in your hands. In the new board game Raid on Taihoku, that is. Based on the Taihoku air raid, which occurred on May 31st, 1945, the game combines the crucial recreational aspects a board game requires with historical fact and a sense of Taiwanese-ness. This Taiwanese-ness is an element that the game's producer K.J. Jung believes is missing from most of the country's creative merchandise, such as games and comics. More often than not, Taiwanese entertainment follows Western or Japanese styles, deepening the sentiment that entertainment is only cultured if it's foreign. Therefore, many Taiwanese designers have found that Taiwanese-ness can be a barrier when it comes to marketing their products. Zhang, on the other hand, has chosen to embrace Taiwanese culture in the game, believing that young Taiwanese people are searching for their roots now more than ever. In the game, each player represents one of the 8 members of a Taiwanese family during World War II. They have only one enemy to defeat: the cruelty of war. As it's a game of cooperation, players must work together to keep one another alive and accomplish their assigned tasks. As soon as one player dies, however, the game is over and all the players have lost. In order to recreate the living conditions and struggles of the time, Zhang and the game's designer Deng Jieming have done extensive research on the subject. The Taihoku air raid is not taught in schools, so they consulted experts about everything from the damage caused by bombs to the interest Taiwanese citizens would have had in 1945. This careful attention to detail has resulted in an historically accurate and visually impressive game that they believe will appeal to consumers both in Taiwan and abroad.
Let's take a look at the title first, guys. We've got Raid on Taihoku delivers more than just fun. So if you have a raid, you're talking about a sudden attack, usually by the military on the enemy, or the police may raid a particular building because they know there are bad guys inside. Maybe the mafia is inside, so they raid it. So it's a surprise attack on the enemy, usually by the police or again by the military. And here we're talking about a raid on Taihoku, which was an air raid. So bombs were dropped by airplanes over the northern part of Taiwan. So we've got this raid that delivers more than just fun. So if you deliver something, you produce that result. So it's more than just fun. You're going to learn some stuff, learn about history, which is always a great thing.
Indeed, and they're playing a board game, which I don't think are as common as they used to be. It seems when people get together, they're all kind of in their own little worlds on their phones.
Well, there's still chess and checkers. Those are board games.
But I don't see people playing them as much as they used to.
Oh, that's sad.
But again, chess and checkers and wuziqi and Go.
Monopoly.
Monopoly, right? Those are all examples of board games. This is a new one called Raid on Taihoku. Taihoku, of course, is the original Japanese name of Taipei. Well, I shouldn't say original. I should say that was the name of Taipei during the Japanese occupation. I don't know what it was called before that. Maybe manga or something like that. But in any case, Daiba or Taihoku, and that's the original name. It was based on the Taihoku air raid, which occurred on May 31st, 1945. So this game is based on an historical incident that took place way back in 1945, just before the end of World War II. World War II ended in 1945. Later on, though, it was in August or so after the bombs were dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So this is still before the war was over.
Officially, yeah.
The Americans, I guess, had lashed the Japanese air fleet in Okinawa with a major defeat. So basically, the Japanese Air Force in Taiwan was unable to stop this raid by the Americans. I think it was a combined raid with the nationalist Chinese and the Americans, although probably the Americans had the majority of the planes in that raid. And again, it happened back in 1945. And it combines the crucial recreational aspects a board game requires with historical fact and a sense of Taiwanese-ness. So we've got this crucial recreational aspect. Okay, crucial means it's very, very important. You've got to have this. It's crucial. Recreational means it has to do with having fun. And the aspect is just the point of view. This particular thing you need to think about regarding playing a board game. It's supposed to be fun. So yes, we're using this recreational aspect, the fact that people are playing the game. Maybe they roll dice or something and they have pieces and they move it on the board and stuff like that. So it's combining those aspects with historical fact. So basically, when you play this game, you have fun and you learn something at the same time.
Yeah, but it's got one more part to it, which is a sense of Taiwanese-ness. So you've got a Taiwanese flavor to the game. Or moving on to the next paragraph, it says this Taiwanese-ness is an element or part that the game's producer, who is KJ Zhang, he believes is missing from most of the country's creative merchandise like video games and comics that we produce right here in Taiwan. If you've got a sense of Taiwan, you've got this Taiwanese flavor feeling to it. Most of the video games and comics, at least, look more like Western merchandise or products rather than stuff that's actually created here in Taiwan or Japan. Japan has a lot of influence on the things that are created here in Taiwan. But this producer, who's KJ Zhang, he wanted to change that. He wanted this particular game to look a lot more like Taiwan, feel like Taiwan. And so we're using this fun kind of word, Taiwanese-ness, something that feels Taiwanese. When you're talking about merchandise, guys, it's just stuff that is produced by a manufacturer. Could be clothes, it could be different goods that we buy, but we're talking about creative merchandise, things that we buy to relax with and to have fun with, recreational things.
Exactly. So we've got that suffix there, N-E-S-S. That is usually added to an adjective to make it a noun, like sadness or loneliness. So if we're putting a ness on there, we're talking about what it means to be Taiwanese, basically. And this word, I should say, is not really common, and it's very difficult to actually pronounce. And I'm not going to use it in a conversation myself, but basically it's trying to give people a feeling of being in Taiwan or being a Taiwanese person. Now, this Taiwanese-ness is an element that the game's producer KJ Zhang believes is missing from most of the country's creative merchandise, such as games and comics. So yes, indeed, like Japan, like the USA, like Europe, Taiwan produces lots of creative merchandise for local consumption, but he says it's kind of missing the Taiwanese element. It's all about Japan and America and Europe and things like that. These things really don't address Taiwan itself. This is all the creative merchandise. Merchandise, of course, is things for sale. on the open market. You can buy them in stores, clothing, merchandise at a clothing store, for example. But in this particular case, we're talking about games and comics. Could be applications for your smartphone or actual board games, and comics, which would be manga in Japanese. But yeah, I've been kind of disappointed myself because there aren't really many local titles of manga. All of the manga that I see in comic book stores are just basically translations of Japanese comic books. I want to see some locally produced stuff with local stories, and I guess he kind of feels the same way.
More often than not, Taiwanese entertainment follows these Western or Japanese styles, deepening the sentiment or feeling that entertainment is only cultured if it's foreign, which is not true. So it happens more than it doesn't that you find Taiwanese entertainment, things that entertain you, that get you excited when you relax. They usually follow Western styles or Japanese styles, just as Tom has been talking about. And it actually makes the feeling that entertainment's only really cultured if it comes from abroad. No, we produce a lot of cultured entertainment right here in Taiwan. So therefore, many Taiwanese designers have found that Taiwanese-ness can be a barrier when it comes to marketing their products. When you talk about barriers, you're talking about some sort of obstacle that stops or prevents progress or movement. So it's a barrier if they produce something that is too like Taiwan or has that Taiwan flavor when they want to market their products, which means to advertise them to the public and get people interested in buying what they produce.
Exactly. It's a barrier, it's an obstacle, it's an obstruction. And basically, I guess what this is saying is that when local designers try to produce something that does have a sort of Taiwanese feel to it, it's hard to sell it. Maybe people aren't so interested. We're kind of interested in the Japanese style or the American style. We're not so used to the Taiwanese style, but hopefully KJ Jong can bring about a change and there can be some more pride in the local feeling. Let's hope that comes about here. But right now we're going to take a break. We'll talk some more about this game in just a second, but let's hear from our Chinese teacher first.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina. 今明2天我们要介绍的桌游的游戏名称叫做台北大空袭。首先来看到第一段的第2个句子写着Based on the Taihoku air raid, which occurred on May 31st, 1945, the game combines the crucial recreational aspects a board game requires with historical fact and a sense of Taiwanese-ness. 我们首先来看到这一句的主词是 the game, 指的就是 the board game. 这个桌游呢，它是根据 based on 这个发生在西元1945年5月31号的台北大空袭。在这里我们用逗号加上 which 是有补充说明的作用。而这个游戏呢，它结合了，你要注意的是 combine A with B, 把什么跟什么结合在一起呢？第一个是 the crucial recreational aspects, 这很重要的娱乐的这个层面，而这个层面后面又用一个形容词子句来说明，说是 a board game requires, 所有的桌游都需要一些娱乐的层面，除了结合娱乐性，当然还有后面的 historical fact, 史实，还有一点点的台味。接着我们来看到在第2段提到呢，这个台味是台湾大部分创意商品认为可能原本是不好的。那么在这里提到 more often than not, Taiwanese entertainment follows Western or Japanese styles, deepening the sentiment that entertainment is only cultured if it's foreign. 我们首先来看一下这个片语 more often than not 指的呢就是大多数的时候。很多时候呢，这些台湾的娱乐 entertainment， 他们所遵循 follows 是这种西方或者是日本的风格。那么这样子的想法呢，则是 deepening the sentiment。sentiment 可以解释成为观点跟意见，加深了怎样的观点意见呢？也就是呢 entertainment is only cultured if it's foreign， 感觉如果有台味就不入流，所以只有国外的娱乐才是有这种文化的观感。但是呢，张少莲所设计的台北大空袭则是增加了 Taiwanese-ness， 而也就是这个游戏会成功的主要元素之一。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, we shall now continue with our lesson for today. We're talking about a new board game, which is called Raid on Taihoku. Maybe you've heard about this historical event that this game is based on. And it's also something that is trying to bring about a feeling of Taiwanese-ness to the local market. The creator or the producer of this game, KJ Jong, believes that's missing from the creative merchandise that is produced in Taiwan, such as games and comics. Okay, so let's find out exactly what this game is all about and what KJ Jong's approach to this problem is. Jong, on the other hand, has chosen to embrace Taiwanese culture in the game, believing that young Taiwanese people are searching for their roots now more than ever. And I do think this is true. Of course, I think this has been true ever since I set foot in Taiwan. Taiwan seems to have had a cultural crisis that continues on to today because Taiwan's kind of small and it's isolated in the world, so people are not quite sure if they should embrace their own culture, if they should kind of forget about it. But in any case, he wants to embrace Taiwanese culture. If you embrace something, you give it a big hug. But in this particular case, it just means you cherish it, you think it's worthwhile, and you appreciate it.
Yeah, you willingly accept it into your life. You believe in it. One of the things that's still popular abroad that comes from Taiwan are those animated videos that Taiwan produces of news stories. I remember when Tiger Woods was beaten by his wife. Taiwan was famous in America for producing a kind of a funny video that they had animated. It was really fun. So Taiwan is known, but we're such a small place that more of our culture needs to get out, I think. So in the game that we're talking about, Taihoku, each player represents one of the 8 members of a Taiwanese family that existed during World War II. So if you represent somebody, you are standing for them, you're acting for them, you're speaking for them. So they are representing one of the 8 members of fictional Taiwanese family during World War II. They have only one enemy to defeat, and they're all working together to defeat this one enemy. And what is that? The cruelty of war. If you defeat something, you beat them. You win. You beat them. Good. So cruelty of war just means how war becomes so awful. Cruel things happen, things that aren't fair. If you're cruel to someone, you're horrible. You're usually abusing them physically. And cruelty of war, a lot of people suffer during war because the point of war is to defeat the enemy so badly that they don't want to keep fighting.
Exactly. And of course, again, the enemy in this particular game is not the American bombers or the Japanese, but it's just simply the cruelty of war, causing pain and suffering to other people, and you just don't care. It's also a game of cooperation. Players must work together to keep one another alive and accomplish their assigned tasks. So it's kind of a team game. It's a team spirit kind of game.
Yeah.
You got to be a team player in this game. It's not one against all the other people. It's a game of cooperation. Cooperation is a noun. It just refers to the act of cooperating, working together to reach the same goal.
Yeah, and here their goal is to accomplish their assigned tasks and make sure no one from that family dies, because as soon as someone dies, the game is over. That's unusual because usually during games, if someone, dies or is beaten, the game continues until someone eventually survives everybody else, out-survives them all. No. This really is a game of cooperation because if you allow or let one person die, it's over. To accomplish something means you've worked hard to achieve something. You've completed something successfully. So they are out there to accomplish their assigned tasks. If you're assigned something, somebody gives you a piece of work to do. So that's your particular task or job. And like I said, as soon as one player dies, when that happens, the game is automatically over and all the players lose. So you can't let anyone lose or anyone die or everyone actually has to suffer. Everyone is lost at that point.
That's an interesting game. That's an interesting object of the game. Most board games are all about winning and defeating your enemies and your opponents, and you want to win and make everybody go bankrupt if you're playing Monopoly.
Or the last person alive wins.
Or to capture your opponent's king, then you're the victor. But in this particular case, hey, everyone's got to survive in order for everybody to win.
Yeah.
And in order to recreate the living conditions and struggles of the time, Zhang and the game's designer Deng Jiming have done extensive research on the subject. Okay, so yes, indeed, they want to understand the circumstances of the Taihoku air raid, which took place back in 1945. They need to do some research, of course, so they can recreate what life was like back then, to recreate the living conditions and the struggles of the time. So you want to recreate these things. You just want to bring them back alive. You want to create them again. And we're talking about living conditions, you know, basically what people did for a living, the kind of food they ate, how they got around, what did they do when they got sick and stuff like that. What were living conditions like, and what were their struggles? What were their concerns, their worries, and their troubles?
So Zhang and the game's designer, Deng Jiming, they've done extensive research on the subject. If you've done a lot of research, you've looked back in time to see what things were like. Extensive means a lot. So they've done a lot of research, so they understand what was going on back then. Remember, and this was surprising to me, the Taihoku air raid is not taught in schools. So students don't learn about it in schools. So if you want to learn more, you actually have to do your own research. So what did these two guys do? Zhang and the game's designer, they consulted experts about everything from the damage caused by the bombs to what the Taiwanese citizens were interested in back then and what they would have had a life like back in 1945. To consult means you usually go find somebody who knows what they're talking about. Here we're consulting experts. So you go to someone and you're wanting information or advice. You listen to what they have to say. You probably have lots of questions if you're consulting someone about something. And if you're one of those experts, you're often called a consultant. I worked in management consultant in New York before I moved here, where companies would come to my company and ask for information and get advice about how to run their businesses more successfully. Here they're consulting history experts who know a lot about the damage that happened from those bombs and what the Taiwanese citizens went through.
Exactly. And again, this subject is not really taught in the textbooks. That's because the Americans and the ROC were allies at the time, and the ROC government did not want the Americans to look bad, so they kind of just left it out of the textbooks, even though it was still a pretty terrible thing to happen. And the blood is on the Americans' hands. There's no way around that. But in any case here, they had to do some research about this and finding out which buildings were damaged and stuff like that, how people were living back then. And this careful attention to detail has resulted in a historically accurate and visually impressive game that they believe will appeal to consumers both in Taiwan and abroad. So they believe it is accurate. It's not wrong. It's getting the details right. They did their homework. They talked to experts in the field. And it's also very visually impressive. I haven't actually seen the game, but I'm sure the board and the pieces are all pretty cool. Visually impressive means to the eyes, to your vision, it looks really cool.
Looks really great. Yeah. So it's accurate. They've got facts in there. They're not making up things. If it's accurate, it's correct. 100% correct. The information or whatever it is talking about is true. It's not fictional. And it is cool to look at. And they believe, the designers, of course, and Zhang, they believe it will appeal to consumers. Consumers are people who consume different things. We're talking about people who buy merchandise and use it. So we hope that the ones who are interested in this game, who are buying it, will be really impressed with it. If it appeals to someone, it interests them, it attracts them, they like it. So it's something that sounds really interesting to me as well because I love history. So this is something that we hope will sell not only well in Taiwan, but abroad and bring some Taiwanese-ness to the world, especially our great culture. Right now, guys, we're going to listen one more time to our Chinese teacher.
第二段的最后一句提到 John, on the other hand, has chosen to embrace Taiwanese culture in the game, believing that young Taiwanese people are searching for their roots now more than ever.在这里 on the other hand 指的是相反的，在另外一方面呢，这个桌游的创造者张少莲他则选择 to embrace Taiwanese culture， 他想要呢去拥抱，欣然的接受呢台湾的文化。Embrace 呢原本是拥抱的意思，延伸出来就是有欣然的去接受某个观念。举个例子来说 She embraced his offer to help her with her English， 也就是说她欣然的接受她要帮忙来学习英文的这个提议。而她会有这样的想法，正是因为她 believing， 她相信了其实年轻的台湾人他们正在寻找他们自己的 roots， 他们的来源，他们的根源，那么是现在 more than ever， 比起以往更是想要往这个地方走。第三个段落中间的句子提到 As it's a game of cooperation, players must work together to keep one another alive and accomplish their assigned tasks. 这个句子就用来说明这个游戏的主轴，它是需要互相合作，所以呢，所有的玩家都必须要 keep one another alive， 让大家都要活着，而且同时必须要去完成他们所指定的任务。To accomplish something， 也就是去完成某个事件的意思。举例来说 They have accomplished their mission successfully， 他们成功的完成了他们的任务。最后我们来看到在最后一段的中间提到 The Taihoku air raid is not taught in schools, so they consulted experts about everything from the damage caused by bombs to the interests Taiwanese citizens would have had in 1945。那么其实学校并没有教导台北大空袭这段例子，所以他们就只好去那么跟专家来讨论咨询。我们用的动词是 consult somebody about something， 也就是向某人询问某个特定的事情。询问的事情我们要注意 from A to B， 从这样子的 damage， 而这样子的 damage 是受到呢这个炸弹的破坏，一直到呢在1945年那个时候，台湾的百姓会有何等爱好等所有事情，他所查询跟咨询的对象可以说是相当的广泛。这里要注意到 the interests 后面是一个子句 Taiwanese citizens would have had in 1945。 那么呢这样子的游戏呢不仅给人视觉上印象深刻，又有一些史实，也就是这个游戏非常成功的元素。 OK， 以上就是今天的课文讲解，谢谢收听。
That's all the time we have for today. It's been a pleasure having you with us. And hey, we learned something about Taiwanese history as well. And I can't wait to play this game myself. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
See ya.